Yo, what's up, YouTube? So I'm here to rank NFL teams from this year, and it'll be good. It'll be fun. So first team we have is the Cincinnati Bengals. This team is good. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and the defense, Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, Jermaine Pratt, all those guys, they're really good. But the Bengals didn't really have a good year. They didn't go to the playoffs, but I will say but the year before and last year they had they had great years. So I'll put them at this tier. I'm gonna say this one will be like the goated tier. Hold on. Next up is the New England Patriots. I mean, this Patriots team has had terrible seasons. I'm going to put them at the bad tier. They're not awful. I wouldn't say they're like that bad, but they have not had good years. Next up is the New Orleans Saints. Okay, this team is okay. I mean, this team isn't really like the team is good, dude. They have Michael Thomas, Derek Carr. They have good offense. They have good defense. Cameron Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis. All those guys are really good on the defense. So I will put the Saints at the okay tier.
You're okay? Okay. Just checking up on you.
Okay. Next up, sorry guys, that was my mom coming in the room. Next team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to say this team is also an okay team. Well, actually, no. I think they'll be a goated team. Oh, no. I think they'll be... Nah, never mind. I think they're okay. I'm going to say they are an okay team because they barely made it to the playoffs this year. But I will say, T.J. Watt, Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, and all those guys, all those on the offense and the defense, they were really good this year. So maybe I'll put the Steelers at the goated tier just because they made it to the playoffs this year. And yeah. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers. This team is no doubt an elite team. Last year, they went to the NFC Championship game, and now this year, they made it to the Super Bowl. And Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, Trent Williams, and the offense, and with Christian McCaffrey, all the offense and the defense, Fred Warner. I think Emmanuel Mosley's on that team still. Charvarius Ward, Nick Bosa, Chase Young. Those guys have had an incredible season, and that's the reason the 49ers are going in the elite tier. Next up is the Arizona Cardinals. My fault. This team is. I'm gonna say this team is an okay team. Well, actually, no. I will kind of say they are a bad team, because that won't be fair. Because they had this, I think they had the same record as the Patriots, so that won't be fair if I put them at the okay tier. I'll put them at the bad tier, but I will say Kyler Murray makes the Cardinals above average. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons. I will say that the Falcons, they had a good year. They had a pretty good year. They didn't go to the playoffs, but they've had good years. Sadly, Arthur Smith got fired. Because I think he got yelled at. I mean, I think he was yelling at Dennis Allen for the team running the ball first and goal when the game was like over and they were supposed to take a knee. And then yeah, that's when he got mad. I'll put the Falcons at the okay tier just because they had a pretty good year. Next up is the Baltimore Ravens. This team is no doubt an elite team They went all the way to the AFC Championship this year, but sadly lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. So I will put them at the elite tier. Next team up is the Buffalo Bills. I will say this team is another great team, but but they keep falling off in the playoffs. So I'll put them at the goated tier just because Josh Allen, Dawson Knox, Stephon Diggs, and the offensive line and the running back James Cook. They're all beasts on the offense. So yeah, I'll put them at the goated tier. Same with the defense. Panthers. Oh my God, they had a terrible year. I'm gonna put them at awful, but I still think Bryce Young has an opportunity for the Panthers, and I will say I think he'll definitely get better in his second year, third year. So Panthers are going in awful tier for now. Next up is the Chicago Bears. Okay, this team was another okay team. They started off terrible and they were like 0-4 to start the year, but then and then their defense all of a sudden just like showed something, and they were getting picks back to back weeks, and yeah, and the Bears offense was also like waking up and making some incredible plays. DJ Moore on the offense was good. Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Justin Fields taking off for runs, and yeah. And Eddie Jackson, Tyreek Stevenson, C.J. Edwards, Montez Sweat, Dominique Robinson, and T.J. Edwards. I don't know if I said them already. They've had great years, and also too Jaquan Brisker. So I'll put them so they're gonna be in the okay tier. Next up is the Cleveland Browns. This team is a goated tier. They got to the playoffs this year. Amari Cooper is really good. Deshaun Watson is good until that injury, but Joe Flacco took this team to the playoffs, so I'll put this team in the goated tier. Next is the Dallas Cowboys. I'm also gonna put this team in the goated tier because like they keep falling off every time when they go to the playoffs, and I will put them at the goated tier. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb are really good with Michael Gallup, and the offensive line is really good too. Jake Ferguson and the defense, Deron Bland had an awesome year, and yeah, they're gonna be at the goated tier. The Denver Broncos, they're gonna go in the okay tier. They've had their struggles at the start of the year, but then they got it rolling. Like ever since like they beat the Chiefs, I think week 8 it was. They just got it rolling. So I'll put them at the okay tier. Next up is the Detroit Lions. This team is gonna go into the elite tier because they went all the way to the NFC Championship this year. And yeah, I will put them at the elite tier. Next up is the Titans. I mean, the Tennessee Titans, I think they're gonna be. I'm gonna put them at the bad tier, but I'm not gonna say they were that bad. Like they're pretty. I mean, they're not good, but they're not that bad. They're pretty good. Derrick Henry, they were pretty good. Derrick Henry. Who else? DeAndre Hopkins, Jeffrey Simmons on the defense, the offense and defense. They were good. So I will put them at the bad tier, but they're not that bad. Packers, they are a goated team. Jordan Love's very first year starting for the Packers, he took them all the way to the divisional round playoffs, led them to beat the Cowboys, and then they sadly lost to the 49ers. So this team has a lot of potential coming next year too. So I'll put them at the goated tier. Texans. The Texans are another goated team. C.J. Stroud, his very first year as a Houston Texan and in the NFL, he took his team all the way to the divisional round, and that was awesome for this Texans team after not going to the playoffs since 2019. So I'll put him in the goated tier. Next up is the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, they were pretty good this year. Sadly, they lost to the Texans, and they didn't go to the playoffs. So I put them in the okay tier just because they were actually really good. Jonathan Taylor was good. Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, and the offensive line with Quentin Nelson, they were really good. Next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team is another okay team because the Jaguars started off excellent in the year, and then all of a sudden they were losing all these games, and then they didn't go to the playoffs. So I put them in the okay tier. Next up is the Kansas City Chiefs, and this team is no doubt in the elite team. Patrick Mahomes has won Super Bowl MVPs, and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, and now this year they're back again, and they won Super Bowl 54, and yeah. Next up is the Rams. The Rams are a goated tier, just cause Matthew Stafford has had great years with the Rams. He took them to the Super Bowl. They won, and now this year, they took them to the wild card, and they've had really good year. They had a really good year. So I'll put them in the goated tier. Aaron Donald was really good too for the defense. Everybody for the Rams was good. Next up is the LA Chargers. This team the team started off pretty good, but then ever since Williams got injured, they haven't been really good. So I'll put them in the bad tier, but they're not that bad. Next up is the Miami Dolphins. This team is another goated team, I would say. If I would put them at the elite tier, but once they start... What the... Oh, okay, there we go. I would put the Dolphins at the elite tier if they had won playoff games. But for right now, they'll be in the goated tier. Tyreek is really good too. Is good. The offensive line is good. Taron Armstead, Robert Hunt. The defense good. Andrew Van Ginkel, Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland, David Long, Byron Jones, and Kader Kohu, Xavier Howard, all those guys on the defense, they're really good. So I put them in the goated tier. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, this team is an okay team. They struggled this year a lot compared to last year. They finished at 7-10 this year, and last year they finished at 12-4. So this year they've had their struggles, but I'll put them at the okay tier just because Kirk is really good. Jefferson is the best receiver. Justin Jefferson is like the best receiver right now, and I'll put them at the okay tier. Next up is the Giants. I know the Giants had a terrible year, and they maybe should go to the bad tier, but I'm gonna put them at the okay tier just cause Tommy DeVito was really good until he got injured, and the Giants got really good wins, upsets before the season ended. So I would say they're definitely an okay team, and they had a pretty good year. Next up is the New York Jets. This team is another okay team, but the quarterback room needs to get fixed. I mean it's already fixed. Rodgers is on the team now, but since he got injured, Zach Wilson, what was that guy's name? Tim Boyle, and I forgot the other guy's name. Since Rodgers got injured the very first week as a Jet, it's been hard for the Jets, and they've had another bad year. Well, they didn't have a bad year. They were good. They were good. 7 wins on 10 losses. So they are definitely gonna go into the okay tier. They had a good year. Next up is the Raiders. The Raiders were they're I'm gonna okay tier because they almost went to the playoffs, and ever since they fired Josh McDaniels, they were good. The new coach Antonio Pierce, he got the Raiders going. They didn't go to the playoffs, but I will say the Raiders had a good year ever since they hired him. So they're going into the okay tier. Next up is the Seahawks. I'm gonna put this team in the goated tier just because Geno Smith took them to the playoffs last year. Um, and um, and and then they almost got to the playoffs this year again. Drew Lock is really good. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. The offensive line is good. Defense is good with Jamal Adams, Julian Love, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is a really good. Was really good this year. So I'll put him at the goated tier. Next up is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This team is probably. I'm gonna put them at the I'll put them at the goated tier. They had a good year. They had a really good year with Baker Mayfield starting for them at quarterback. So I will put them at the goated tier. Eagles are probably another goated team. They had a good. Well, actually, no. I'll put them at the elite tier just because Jalen Hurts took them to the Super Bowl last year and this year. Got to the playoffs again, sadly lost, but yeah, I'll put them at the elite tier. Next up, last but not least, Washington Commanders. This team, I'm gonna put them at the bad tier because they had a another bad year. Well, they didn't have. I don't really know if they had a bad year last year, but this year they had a bad year. I think they only had 4 wins this year. So yeah, they didn't really have a good year. So I'll put them at the bad tier, and that'll cap off all of my NFL team rankings after this year. I'm so excited for this Super Bowl, Chiefs and 49ers. It's gonna be fun. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay. Bye.